welcome to the Ben and Polly channel and welcome to my first video about Big Finish. Now, I'm not going to confuse you by going on about all the different ranges and Big Finish and how awesome they are as a company, but also how expensive they are and, you know, all that. If you want to do some research into, you know, the legacy of Big Finish and maybe where to start out, and if you want to just listen to stories by a specific doctor, or there's lots of spin-offs like The River Song or Captain Jack, or there's loads you can actually start with, and it's not even just Doctor Who. They've got their own Dorian Gray series and lots of other characters like that. It's absolutely brilliant, but I am here to talk about the first 50 stories, or you know, the best ones out of the first 50 stories, in my opinion, of the main range, which are all stories that are available at time of recording on Spotify, or you can download them to keep from the Big Finish website, and they're about $2.99 each. So for some dirt cheap Doctor Who, I'm going to be talking about my top 10 out of the first 50 stories of the main range that you can dive into with hardly any knowledge of backstories or anything like that. So, number 10, I'm going to start with a Paul McGann story. Paul McGann has the companion Charlie, who is a Edwardian adventuress. And this isn't her first story, but you don't need to know really anything about her or McGann to enjoy the story. It's called The Stones of Venice, and it's set in the far future when it's basically, you know, the destruction of Venice and kind of, you know, as you'd expect, end of the world shenanigans. There's lots of beautiful music in this and a kind of revolt, and it really encapsulates the Eighth Doctor for me, in similar to how he is in the movie, if you've seen it. But this is a great exploration of the Doctor's romanticism, and you know, he is the Doctor that would go to Venice 100%. He is very romantic, very magical, sort of, yeah, kind of 11 and Amy feels a little bit with Charlie. Her name's Charlotte Pollard, but friends call her Charlie, and the Eighth Doctor, played by Paul McGann. So this is a nice fun one. It's if you think of, you know, the TV episode Vampires of Venice, it's kind of that light-hearted fun element, but the story is quite good, better than Vampires of Venice. This is a bit more angsty and a bit more out there, but there's lots of wonderful music and scenes that you can picture in your mind, like them being at a ball and everybody in their attire of the time. It's a good one to imagine in your mind. So it's a great one for a first audio story, I think, and one of my favourite McGann stories in the top 50. So now we'll go on to number 9 out of the top 50, which is Colditz, a 7th Doctor story. It has the 7th Doctor and Ace. It's a little bit gritty, but not so much so as later on. You can go straight into this one. It introduces a companion who's going to be seen later on, but that doesn't matter at all. The story is, a little bit harrowing. David Tennant is actually in this as a bad guy, so if you haven't heard or seen David Tennant as a bad guy, that's probably a good warning, because it's quite terrifying. But if you've seen like Secret Smile and some stuff where he's quite evil, you'll be ready for this. But you know, it's called Colditz, so you kind of know what to expect. But this shows a little bit of Ace sort of growing up a bit more after the television series. Yeah, so I wouldn't call that one fun, but it's a very good drama, and that is the only, I was going to say the only 7th Doctor, but not really. kind of, you'll see. Anyway, check that one out. So number 8 is actually a sequel to one of the others that is higher up on the list. So I will give you more context when I get to the other one. But yeah, this is a sequel involving some of the characters, and it's to do with a secret organisation, a bit kind of like Torchwood, and they're called The Forge. The story is called Project Lazarus, and so you can kind of tell from the title what it might be hinting at, but this actually features the 7th Doctor and the 6th Doctor. And it's just angst galore. So if you're all about a bit of a wacky story and a continuation of a story that is higher on the list, if you like that, then you should check this out. On its own, you know, it's not great, but combined with that for the character stuff, yeah, definitely check it out. So Project Lazarus. Number 7 is Jubilee, which is one that people are always raving about because it was written by Robert Shearman, and he actually adapted this for series 1 of the new series, Dalek. So you can see the components of Dalek in this story, but it's a bit more interesting and there's lots more world building and a lot more characters. It's not as contained as in the vicinity in the television story where it's all kind of underground. There's a much more larger scale going on and some stuff that just didn't make it to screen. So it's an interesting story. It's a bit low on my list just because I'm not a big fan of the Daleks, so I kind of listen to it going, yeah, I see what they're doing, I enjoy it, but it's just not the kind of story that I really like. But yeah, I do recommend checking that out if you want to see some kind of angsty Colin Baker stuff and compare it directly to Eccleston's performance in the Dalek episode. So number 6 is a bit of a crazy one. It's Doctor Who and the Pirates, another Colin Baker one. You'll be seeing a trend here because if you didn't know, the 6th Doctor is majorly redeemed in the Big Finish audios. So yeah, this is your chance to give that Doctor a real shot. Yeah, Doctor Who and the Pirates. This one has some singing, Colin Baker. I can't tell you much more without spoilers, but all you need to know that you can go into it and it's a good time, and it features the 6th Doctor's companion Evelyn, who is an old woman who is a history lecturer, and she will be featuring more on this list. So yeah, check that out for some crazy singing if you ever wanted Doctor Who the musical. That's basically what that is, and some wacky pirates shenanigans. So going on to number 5, we have Spare Parts, which is a bit of a companion piece, as it were, to World Enough in Time the Doctor Falls from series 10, because it's basically the genesis of the Cybermen. So obviously if you're into that and you really like the Cyberman, this will probably be your number 1 story to go check out. It's got Nyssa as the Doctor Who's companion, who is kind of renowned for, in the classic series, not having that much to do because obviously he had a bit of a cramped TARDIS with the 5th Doctor's team. But in the audio, she absolutely spreads her wings and does some, Sarah Sutton does some absolutely fantastic stories in this. So yeah, Spare Parts are very enjoyable, obviously set on Mondas, Earth's twin planet, and just saying about how the Cybermen were kind of developed and meeting a family, you know, from that planet during that time. It's a very kind of personal look at what was going on. And so if you imagine in the series 10 episode, we saw, you know, what Bill was going through and the Master and the sort of scheming part of things in that early development of the Cyberman. This is taking a look at the lives of the ordinary people, in a sense, while that was going on, so they can kind of intercede. And yeah, the 5th Doctor's very good performance in this. Yeah, it took a while for him to get some good stories, but this is certainly one of the best, so check it out if you're into the Cyberman and 5th Doctor. Number 4, we have the Marion Conspiracy, which is another one with the 6th Doctor and Evelyn, the old woman I mentioned, who is an absolute legend. And this is actually her first story, so it's number 4 on this list. So if you want to check it out, and all her stories are either brilliant or quite good. Off the top of my head, there's maybe one which was it's called Peer Pressure, and it's set in Brighton. And it's not a great story, but it's still okay. But yeah, all the rest of her stories are brilliant. And so this has a real proper funny introduction to her and the Sixth Doctor, and how he's kind of toned down a bit from the series and isn't as Larry, and she kind of helps him. And yeah, they go back in time. It's a historical, pure historical, no aliens or anything. Just a proper good time companion piece, and the Doctor's interactions with the characters as well are really, really fun. And all is not what it seems in Tudor England, and that's all I can say really without giving away a major plot point. But there you go. Evelyn is a historian, so she wants to know what really happened during that time, so that's why they go back there. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Number 3, we have one of the all-time greats, another Robert Shearman script, The Chimes of Midnight. This is an 8th Doctor story with Charlie again. This is one you can just listen to. All you need to know is it's a bit of a Clara Oswald situation, and Charlie should have died on the Airship 101, but the Doctor saved her, so it's changed time a little bit, and that comes up a little bit in this story. But beyond that, yeah, that's all you need to know. It's a bit of a whodunit mystery. They're in this kind of haunted house of all these weird characters, and it's set at Christmas, so if you want a Christmas special, this is absolutely one of the best ones, including the TV episodes, to be honest. Yeah, can't rave enough about the story. It isn't my absolute favourite, but yeah, I can see why people really like it. It's really, really creepy, but also really funny, and the 8th Doctor is brilliant. And yeah, Charlie's an interesting character as well, and you get some interesting shenanigans. So going on to the top 2, they are both Colin Baker stories, because as I've said, Colin in these is just amazing. So this was a really hard decision on the top 2 of the top 50, but I'm gonna go. Number 2 is another Robert Shearman script, and it is The Holy Terror. This is another one. It's really difficult with some of these. You don't want to give away the spoilers, and I won't. So all I will say is they're in a weird medieval castle, and weird stuff is going on. The Doctor's companion is Frobisher, who is a chameleon who likes the shape of a penguin. He's like a penguin detective. There's lots of stuff to do with religious metaphors and wanting to be king, and yeah, it's just brilliant. And the pacing of this is just great. It's very Monty Python-esque, kind of jokes and dark humour and weird stuff going on, and it's one I can just listen to again and again and again, because yeah, the jokes just keep coming, and the character interactions is just amazing, and there's never a dull moment. But I could say the same for number 1, which is the first story to Project Lazarus, which I mentioned earlier, and it's called Project Twilight. And this is one which you can probably guess from the title what it's about, but I will not spoil. It's about some weird project that went on during the First World War, I believe, and but it's set sort of later on at the dawn of the millennium at this casino, and about the guy who manages the casino called Reggie, and his sort of partner in crime Amelia, and how the Doctor and Evelyn again encounter them, and some weird shenanigans with a girl called Cassie who works at the casino, and it's all very claustrophobic, which sounds weird because it's an audio, but it all happens at like 2 locations pretty much. Very much character pieces again, and some weird stuff going on, and just creepy as hell and quite violent. And these aren't stories that could ever be in the TV series, because with Big Finish you can just go all out there with the violence because you're not showing anything, so it's all down to the listener's imagination. But yeah, it's absolutely one of my favourite stories, and definitely my number 1 in the top 50. All the ones I've mentioned, they're on Spotify for free, or you can go on to Big Finish website, $2.99. They're all out of print on CD, so you can't buy them on CD anymore unless you get them off eBay. You can get some of them on there, but yeah, so that's my list. Anybody who's familiar with these, if you want to make your top 10 out of the first main range stories, it's called main range because kind of off of the main range you get loads of spin-offs later on, and the 8th Doctor gets his proper sort of new series-esque series with Lucy Miller, Sheridan Smith, and like loads of other things that happen later on. But this is like the to the bones main range, which has gone over 200 stories now. So for my next video I will be doing stories 50 to 100, my top 10 out of those, and then maybe I'll carry on or do something else. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and this has been a little bit of an insight into Big Finish, and I recommend that you check these stories out, because yeah, there's some really good ones in the early days. So I will see you later. See you in the comments. Please subscribe and like the video.